It's the Real Estate Podcast, across every state, city and town of Australia.
And welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Podcast, available on iHeartRadio every morning and also on Spotify and Apple and wherever you get your podcast from. Welcome to another Monday. Yes, I hope your weekend was a great one. It's the 15th day for August for 2022. And coming up for this morning, a brand new week, we are going to be talking with a couple of first home buyers who went along to a mock auction that was staged in Canberra. Now, the reason that they went along was to learn how to do it, how to bid, how not to get into the whole FOMO way of doing it, and we'll find out how successful that all was, and we'll also speak to the real estate agent who put that all together. Also, if you're celebrating a birthday for the 15th, you're in pretty good company. Jennifer Lawrence, the actor, is turning 31 today. It seems like she must be much older than that because she's done so many movies, but so young. Ben Affleck, the man that married Jennifer Lopez recently, he is turning 49. And it was on this day in the history books, a fairly decent sort of a rock concert took place just outside of New York in Bethel. It was called Woodstock, and it happened on this day in 1969. Also on this day, the New Zealand All Blacks play their first rugby test match against Australia's Wallabies at the Sydney Cricket Ground. It happened on this day in 1903. Who won it? New Zealand won. 22-3 was the final score.
From first home buyers to property investors and everything in between. Every morning on the Real Estate Podcast. We are just as addicted to property as you are. Every weekday morning from 6:30. It's the Main Centre Forecast with propertybuyer.com.au.
All right, let's check on your weather around Australia on this Monday morning. And Sydney, look at that. Beautiful sunshine today in the forecast and 19 degrees. Melbourne, not so much. A few showers and 14. Brisbane, ditto on yesterday. Sunshine and blue skies, 22 degrees. And in Perth, the rain to increase throughout the day and your high of 22 degrees.
It's the Real Estate Podcast across Australia, 7 days a week.
Well, I was talking a few weeks ago to a Canberra auctioneer about his first mock auction that he was going to be running for first home buyers. And I thought it was a great idea. And I wanted to do a bit of a follow-up with him and a couple of the other first home buyers from the night of the auction, just to find out how it went and what they thought of the process. So let's welcome in this morning Claire Rowland and Ebony Gibb to the breakfast show. And firstly, good morning to you, Claire.
Good morning, Craig. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome to the podcast, and also a very good morning to you, Ebony.
Good morning, Craig.
Okay, great to have you both on. Firstly, what I want to do is I want to ask both of you, because you are first home buyers, where in the process of buying are you at the moment?
So for me, I've seen my mortgage broker. I've recently gotten confirmation of my pre-approval. So at the moment, I'm just in the stages of going to open homes on the weekends and kind of sussing out, I suppose, what kind of properties are out there within my budget, but just getting a feel for what's out there at the moment.
Okay. And what about you, Ebony? How are you going?
So with myself, I'm just still currently saving for a deposit at the moment.
Okay, and the current market, because you are first home buyers, where is your thinking at the moment? Obviously have the rate rises, we've had 4 of them, so where does that put your mindset?
Yeah, so I'm kind of waiting and seeing what happens, I suppose. I'm in a position where if there's a property that comes up that I'm really interested in, I can hopefully put an offer on that place. But at the same time, I'm also happy just waiting and see how the market plays out at this stage.
And what about you, Ebony?
I think for myself, I am happy to kind of see what happens with the market, as there has been a change recently in the past few months. So I'm just happy to, see kind of like what happens. I'm not in a rush to buy.
And the whole question of optimism or pessimism, how does that shape at the moment in your mind? So projecting for the next 12 months.
Look, I'm trying to be optimistic and patient, I suppose. I think, things can only go up for so long. So I'm hoping that house prices will start to come down and that will be my opportunity to secure a property.
And what about you, Ebony?
I think, like Claire said as well, I'm trying to remain optimistic as well, especially with house prices decreasing. Yeah, I think I'm more positive than pessimistic at the moment. And I think, that'll definitely feed into the next 12 months as well.
And what about the rates? Are you going to fix the rate or go variable?
I think I would potentially at this stage go with a fixed rate just because I feel like that's more secure, like as in what the rate is and it doesn't go up or down. It's steady, I guess. Yeah.
And what about you, Claire? Which way are you going?
I'm not 100% sure which way I'll go at the moment, although it does scare me a little bit to be locked into a fixed rate. So in that sense, I am leaning towards a variable rate at the moment.
And so let's have a look at the mock auction itself and why you thought it was a great idea to actually attend the night in the first place.
The mock auction was a really great opportunity to actually just get experience in what it's like. I mean, for me, I haven't had hardly any experience with auctions. I think I've seen a few in, our street at home, but in terms of being a potential buyer, it's really hard, I think, to prepare for that. So I found it really useful, really good to get some tips from James as well on different auction strategies. So I found it really useful.
And what about you, Ebony? What was the reason for you to get along on the night?
I think, like Claire said as well, to gain an insight into what auctions are actually like and what they're actually about, and as well as what's involved, because I hadn't actually been to an auction before or participated in one as such.
So what did you think, Ebony, the biggest surprises for you during the whole process was?
I think the biggest surprise probably was you feel like you need to outbid others even if you don't actually have the finances for it.
And so did you find yourself getting caught up in that whole sort of FOMO thing?
Yeah, so there was a mixture of what I would have to do if I potentially went over my budget as well, and then the consequences of that too. But I thought, I'd miss out on this great property, and then, would there be another opportunity or another property like that one?
And because it was a mock auction, did it give you some sort of an understanding for people how they do go down that whole rabbit hole and turn themselves into a FOMO and, the hands just keep on going and it drives the price up?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great strategy from real estates and auctioneers to actually be having.
I'd probably echo what Ebony said and just know your limits. Because I think when we did the mock auction with James, it was quite funny because I think at the start we all naturally wanted to bid as much as we could to secure the property. And it was almost like, this competition. And I think for us, it was kind of learning, okay, know what your limit is. Yeah, all the factors and variables at play. So I think it was a really good reality check for all of us.
I mean, if you didn't have this mock auction and the very first auction was an actual live event where you're actually slapping down your own money, your mindset now, as a result, is a completely different one to having walked into an auction where it's live.
Oh, 100%. I can't imagine now if I had gone to my, say, first auction and it was the real deal. Oh, I'm just so glad that we had that chance to do a mock one where, we could bid and it wasn't real money, obviously. So definitely took the pressure off. But I think initially for first home buyers, going to an auction can be quite overwhelming and intimidating. So I think to be in that environment where it was, it was for demonstration and then to get some tips and feedback from James on different auction strategies, it was so useful.
All right, so let's bring in auctioneer James Scott of Independent Woden and Western Creek in Canberra. And it sounds to me like, James, the girls had a pretty good experience.
Hi, Craig. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a really good night, and Claire and Ebony took it with an open mind and open heart. We had a lot of fun, and hopefully they took a lot away from the night.
So what did you learn? I guess there would be things that you've taken away for the next time. Is there anything that you would change, do differently, or would you do it exactly the same?
do it very similar. It worked really well, and I think the information we had was definitely useful. It was definitely a learning curve in terms of actually running the event and the administration side. So glad I've got one under the belt and can modify it slightly for the next one.
Let's go back to Ebony. So, Ebony, final thoughts?
I thought it was a really great event, and I was very happy that I went, and as well as the understandings and the learnings as well that I took away from the event, especially the mock auction as well.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on to the podcast. And Claire, final thoughts?
I think having the opportunity to go to an event like that definitely makes me feel a lot more confident going in as a first home buyer.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on to the Real Estate Podcast, both Ebony and Claire, and good luck for the future.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.